Hello and welcome to Granada Reports. We are live for the latest across the northwest.
Hello, many thanks for joining us. Coming up on the programme this evening.
Luke Brooks died after developing an illness whilst living in a mould-infested flat in Oldham. An inquest heard how his family begged for help and blamed the state of his rented home for his death.
The fight goes on. The innocent man wrongly jailed for 17 years says it could be years before he gets any compensation.
The Olympic swimming star back in a campaign to get more young people into the pool.
It's just fundamental that people learn how to swim. It isn't just something that is an elite sport, it's that life skill.
The extraordinary houses that each took 6 months to build, how Edward devoted 30 years of his life to creating this remarkable little village, now on display in the Lake District.
And we have some more settled weather ahead through the middle part this week. I'll be back later on with a full forecast.
So please do stay with us. But first tonight, the mum of a young man from Oldham who died after living in a mould-infested flat has told an inquest she pleaded with the local council for help.
Luke Brooks was only 27 when he died. He developed breathing difficulties. His mother told Rochdale Coroner's Court she had no idea mould could kill people until she saw reports about the death of 2-year-old Awab Ishaq.
Let's go to our correspondent Rob Smith, who's in Rochdale for us this evening. And Rob, what did Luke's family say in court today?
Luke's mum told this court that she begged for help to get her family moved out of what was described as their heavily mould-infested, privately rented home, a home in which her son would later die. Luke, who was 27 and from Oldham, developed, the inquest was told, something akin to a cold in the days before his death, sniffles and a cough, but it turned into something closer to flu. He then got a rash across his body, pain while breathing. Then he suffered a seizure and stopped breathing altogether. Patricia Brooks, his mum, told the coroner that since they had moved into the house, it had been cold and damp. The heating hadn't worked for the first 3 years that they were there, and even after a new boiler went in, it still didn't work properly. There were leaks from the roof, from pipework throughout the house. Part of a ceiling had come down, promised repairs hadn't been made, and there was black mould in various rooms. A police officer who was called to the house on the day Luke died said that when he walked into the bedroom, he could feel the damp in his lungs. It was heavy on his chest, and he said that he saw a section of plasterwork next to Luke's bed that had come away from the brickwork, and that brickwork was covered in black mould spots. A paramedic said that he had tried to open the window in Luke's bedroom, but he'd struggled to do that because mould had grown across the seal. He had to force it open.
And Rob, Luke's family said it wasn't until they saw the news about 2-year-old Awab Ishaq that they realised just how dangerous mould could be.
Yeah, Luke's mum said that Awab's death changed all of that. It made her realise that mould could kill. Awab, who was a toddler, died in this very town. His inquest held in this court in front of exactly the same coroner who concluded that he died from respiratory illness caused by exposure to mould in his family's social housing flat. That has led to changes in the law for social housing tenants, meaning that social housing landlords have deadlines to fix mould and damp. Bear in mind, Luke's family was in private rented accommodation. His mum said that she asked officials prior to all of that to help. She was worried because she had had pneumonia. In the end, she said to them, for God's sake, get us out of this house before somebody dies. This inquest continues tomorrow.
OK, Rob in Rochdale, thank you.
Well, next night, the innocent man wrongly jailed for 17 years for a crime he didn't commit now fears that he'll have to fight for years to get any compensation.
Yes, Court of Appeal judges today ruled that Andrew Malkinson's original conviction was unsafe because Greater Manchester Police did not disclose images during his trial.
Well, it's now been decided that he won't have to pay bed and board for the time that he was in prison. He does, however, still face a lengthy wait for damages, as Andrew Misra reports.
Declared innocent less than a fortnight ago, Andy Malkinson's already helped change controversial compensation rules for the wrongly imprisoned. After his 2004 rape conviction was quashed last month, Yesterday, the Ministry of Justice announced the incorrectly convicted can no longer have living costs deducted from their compensation. A small step in the wider campaign for change by the 57-year-old and his legal team.
What it means to Andy is that now the people who he considers his kidnappers, he no longer has to pay their expenses. So that's a step in the right direction. But Andy wants to see so much more happen, particularly around this compensation issue. So at the moment, he is still required, even with this reform, to go through a process that requires him to prove his innocence beyond reasonable doubt. Why, you may ask? He's already proved that his conviction is unsafe at the Court of Appeal. He's been through so much. How many more battles should this man have to fight?
They are battles that could take years to fight. The maximum compensation Mr. Malkinson can receive is £1 million, an amount he says isn't enough. After spending 17 years locked up for a crime he didn't commit, he's determined to walk away with far more. Andrew Mesra, ITV News.
Well, in a statement, Greater Manchester Police told us they accept today's Court of Appeal judgment and they are truly sorry for this most appalling miscarriage of justice.
Assistant Chief Constable Sarah Jackson went on, "I have extended an invitation to meet with Mr. Malkinson and say sorry to him personally for the time he wrongly spent in prison and for all that he endured as a consequence." On to more of the day's news now, and a man from Bolton area has been arrested by police investigating the death of a 12-year-old boy on a motorway in West Yorkshire. Officers say the boy was hit by a car while walking on the eastbound carriageway of the motorway near Cleckheaton on Saturday night. A 47-year-old man has been arrested on suspicion of causing death by dangerous driving.
An investigation is continuing after a baby boy fell from a second-storey window in Burnley. He was airlifted to hospital with serious injuries. Lancashire Police want to speak to people who stopped to help at the scene on Heap Street.
Football fans could be banned from games if they mock tragedies like Hillsborough or the Munich air crash. Crown Prosecution Service guidance reiterates that tragedy-related abuse like singing or chanting can be seen as a public order offence. The move is being backed by bosses of the FA, Premier League and English Football League.
The father of Ellie Edwards has set off on a 250-mile walk to raise awareness of a foundation in the name of his daughter who was murdered on Christmas Eve. Tim Edwards and comedian John May want more support, so they're walking from Worcester to Land's End for families who lose loved ones to gun and knife crime.
And a huge new park called Southern Grasslands has been created in Liverpool on a former landfill site. The 24-acre green space on the banks of the River Mersey is just 3 miles south of Liverpool city centre. It is the largest transformed green space to open in the city this century and part of a £50 million remediation of the former festival garden sites.
Yeah, how good does that look? Good to see the festival site being put to good use. Well, Next Tonight claims that a young woman who died at a private mental health hospital in Stockport was failed by the system after she was placed hundreds of miles from home.
20-year-old Lauren Bridges was an aspiring doctor and died at the Priory Hospital last year. Today in court, she was described by her mother as being beautiful inside and out.
Well, let's cross live now to Emma Sweeney, who has been following the start of this inquest for us. Emma.
Well, the inquest heard how Lauren Bridges had been admitted 8 times to mental health units before being placed in the privately run Priory Hospital in Stockport, around 250 miles away from her home in Dorset. Now, she was initially doing well. Her family were told that she could be admitted to another unit. But today, Lauren's mother told the court how a delay making this happen caused her daughter distress. 7 months after being admitted to the hospital in Stockport, the grade A student was found unresponsive. Now, her family rushed to be by her bedside, but the following day a clinical decision was made to remove support. Now, Lauren's mother told the court how her daughter was beautiful and brave and how she was an aspiring doctor who brought love and joy. But she said her daughter had been moved from hospital to hospital and that she had been failed by the system. Lauren, she said, was mentally unwell, but she was also autistic, and because of this, Miss Bridges told the court that she did not believe placing her daughter in psychiatric intensive care units was the ideal place, because they are often places that are noisy and are chaotic. She said Lauren was traumatised by the fact that she had been placed so far away from the family home, and in fact she was suffering from separation anxiety. Now, she said on the days leading up to her daughter's death, she had received a number of phone calls from her daughter in which she was screaming hysterically and begging to be removed. Miss Bridges said she did not believe her daughter intended to die. The inquest here at Stockport Coroner's Court is expected to last around 4 weeks.
Emma, thank you.
OK, there's still lots to come on the programme. Coming up.
How a retired builder dedicated 30 years of his life creating this tiny little village.
And we could be in for a little bit of a vitamin D boost over the next few days. Some slightly better news weather-wise coming up in the forecast.
Now, after a mixed start to the school holidays weather-wise, swimming is an activity families can normally rely on come rain or shine.
Yeah, but we constantly hear of the dangers of children not being able to swim. And now there are concerns nearly 100,000 could be missing out on swimming lessons in the northwest. Swim England say that is in part because of a 15% shortfall in teachers.
Well, many quit during COVID and haven't returned, so there's now an appeal underway to recruit more people to pass on this important life skill. Nick Smith has this report.
Teaching youngsters how to be confident in the water can be extremely rewarding. It's why swimming teachers like Jess Mudd conduct classes introducing kids to the pool, but she worries there aren't enough like her to meet demand.
I think that during COVID, a lot of teachers left the industry to go to jobs that were still open and still going ahead. And then just when things opened back up, unfortunately, a lot of teachers didn't join back. I also think that teachers often feel that they need to be experienced in swimming and have like a background in swimming as well, so like swimming competitively and stuff like that. But that's not the case because the courses teach you everything that you need to know and they're really good.
Swim England surveys of families using pools once a week found that most reported high levels of happiness. In the middle of a cost of living crisis, swimming at leisure centres like this one in Levenshulme is still ranked as one of the most affordable summer activities for families, when compared to things like bowling or trips to the cinema. But it's only accessible to those able to learn to do it in the first place. Four-time Olympic medal winner Rebecca Adlington is campaigning for more provision for swimming teachers and local pool space to give more youngsters a chance to learn.
Hiya. I think, yes, obviously swimming is a fantastic Olympic sport. It's brilliant that we win lots of medals, but to me, swimming's more than that. It isn't just something that is an elite sport. It's that life skill. It's just fundamental that people learn how to swim, because actually the world is 70% water. You are going to meet water at some point in your life. Even outside of lessons and swimming clubs and elite programs, you just have family activities. Swimming is something where your phone's away, no distractions. It's just a great family activity.
My favourite part about swimming is playing with your friends. One of the teachers told me, if you fall in a pond, you spread out your hands and that, and then shout help.
You know the swimming strokes. What's your favourite one and tell me why?
My favourite one is the basic one. It's easier and faster. Yeah. Mine is, I think it's the one on your back and then you kick with your legs. So that's what I think.
Local pools are so often a lifeline for those seeking an affordable family activity or exercise, and those involved in swimming teaching are determined they remain accessible and have the staff needed to pass on this important life skill. Nick Smith, ITV News.
Manchester City manager Pep Guardiola shrugged off his side's third successive defeat in the Community Shield by reminding everyone that he's more than content with the club's 3 successive Premier League titles. City had to settle for a 1-1 draw against Arsenal in the curtain raiser to the new season at Wembley, having taken the lead through Cole Palmer. The Gunners went on to win 4-1 on penalties. City begin the defence of their Premier League crown at Burnley this coming Friday.
Well, hopefully we can win the treble again, but it's going to be a difficult ask. But yeah, the lads sharp in training and stuff, so hopefully we just have to work hard again and try and do it all over again.
Well, the weekend also marked the return of the Football League, with Blackburn Rovers recovering from a disappointing end to last season. They started this one with a 2-1 home win over West Brom. Elsewhere in the Championship, Preston North End held Bristol City to a 1-1 draw. Wigan started League One on -8 points, but after a change of ownership and a 2-1 win at Derby, things are looking brighter. Blackpool were relegated alongside Wigan and also started with a victory, beating Burton 2-0. A good win for Bolton too, 3-0 at home against Lincoln. Fleetwood, whose owner was sent to prison for fraud this summer, managed a 1-1 draw at Carlisle. Accrington, after relegation, began life in League Two with a 3-0 win over Newport. Salford City also kicked off with a win, beating Forest Green 2-0. Barrow were 2-1 winners over Tranmere Rovers at Prenton Park, while last season's strugglers Morecambe beat Walsall by 2-1. Elsewhere, Stockport lost, but Crewe Alexandra held Mansfield to a 2-2 draw. Meanwhile, Rochdale played their first game outside of the Football League in 102 years. Relegated last season, of course, they lost 1-0 to Ebbsfleet in their opening match of the National League campaign. And finally, England's netballers are reflecting on a fantastic World Cup campaign. It ended, sadly, with defeat to Australia, but England can be proud of reaching their first ever World Cup final. One of their stars, Jade Clark from Partington, says the team hopes their success in South Africa increases I can't even say it, Lucy. What's going wrong? I get my teeth in. It will increase participation back home.
Yeah, I really hope so. We want to keep women in the game. Like when women leave school, we want to make sure that they're still playing netball. We want people that might have given up netball to think, oh, I can do that. And we want young girls that are playing to look at England and say, it's normal that England are in the final now and I want to play for England and play for my country. So apart from getting into the final and getting this medal, we really wanted to leave a legacy as well and inspire people to keep playing.
Yes, we try it one more time. Increase participation back home. There we go.
Got there.
I've had 2 weeks off. It's taken a while to warm up.
Good job, Mike.
Well, netball and football. The Northwest showing the world how it's done, Mike. I'm loving sport at the moment. Thank you. Saturday's going to be good.
It is.
Now, to the extraordinary patience and skill of Edward Robinson, who has spent decades building a miniature village, which is now on display at a Lake District hotel.
Yeah, I love this story because it shows a level of patience that I could never have. It's an incredible site with 80 separate little buildings, complete with little slate roofs, each taking 6 months to build. And one of them is the tiniest version of one of the most famous cottages of all, the one that Beatrix Potter lived in, which is...
Dover Cottage?
Dove
She
Cottage.
told me for the programme as well.
Nearly.
I messed it up. Dove Cottage.
Go visit. It's
Not
worth
Dover
it.
Cottage. Anyway, Paul Crone popped along to meet Edward to find out more.
Small wonder that Edward Robinson is proud of his work now on display for everyone to see. The 77-year-old from Flukeborough decided to think big and build small. His Lakeland model village is now proving to be a massive hit. Every house is hand-built from Lakeland slate in precise detail and the result of skilled workmanship.
I have built with limestone, and but I just got bored, and I didn't get bored with slate.
After the model village had sat in Edward's house for decades, a Lake District hotelier made the big decision to move the small work of art to the Damson Dean Hotel near Windermere.
The attention to detail is astonishing. He's captured the essence of all these houses, and when they're all together, you think, well, actually, this is just wonderful.
There are almost 80 slate buildings in the model village, including Beatrix Potter's house and the well-known Bridge House in Ambleside. Each one could sometimes take up to 6 months' work to complete. And when you finish wandering around the model village, you can sit in the company of Beatrix Potter and John Ruskin and ask such important questions as, where did Edward get the patience from? Where?
Well, you just have to bite your tongue sometimes when you feel like swearing. I like the old rugged houses, probably the old barn doors that are rotted on the bottom, and you know, the twisted roofs. I just thought they were pretty amazing.
And for those not keen on fell walking, you can now say you toured the whole of the Lake District in 20 minutes. Paul Croner, ITV News, the Lythe Valley.
Extremely impressive stuff. The man must have the patience of saying, I haven't got it in me.
Yeah, well, I think he was on the edge there, wasn't he? From the sounds of things several times.
Bite your tongue when you want to swear.
Yeah, Edward, good work. Absolutely brilliant. Fabulous. Now we just need some model weather to go with that. Let's get the latest from Joe.
Mum, wet wipes, toilet or bin?
Bin. Why?
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Thank you. Very good evening to you. Hopefully there's been a bit of sunshine where you are today. Cloud has filled in this afternoon, mind you. The next few days, briefly, there'll be a settled spell to look forward to. Warm spells of sunshine on offer, certainly for Wednesday and Thursday. It's a short-lived affair. By the weekend, back to changeable, more fresh conditions with showers for the weekend. This is the high pressure that's trying to build in, giving us a decent few days, certainly Wednesday and Thursday looking good. And then out to the southwest, low pressure returns and a cold front will edge in during Friday, increasing the showers and giving us that rather changeable and fresh weekend. Back to this evening, sunshine here and there to round off the day, bits and pieces of cloud and a smattering of showers just feeding their way through into the early hours of Tuesday morning here in the northwest. Apart from that, quite a quiet night and under clear skies rurally, perhaps dipping to around 8 or 9 Celsius, staying in double figures for our towns as we head into Tuesday. On to tomorrow, and the sun is up at 5:36. It sets at 5 to 9 tomorrow evening. Not a bad start to the day tomorrow. There'll be some sunshine around, just a little rash of showers through the middle part of the region there. They'll push their way southwards and die away. And then it's a case of largely dry conditions but chasing sunshine amounts. Probably, I think, in northern areas faring better tomorrow. South into parts of Cheshire, it could be a little cloudier with even some drizzle later on in the day. Temperature-wise, perhaps climbing to 19 Celsius at best. It's just below average for the time of year, but you'll notice a warmer feel through Wednesday and Thursday. During Friday, a change to more unsettled weather for the weekend. Bye-bye.
Cleaned up well.
United Utilities sponsors ITV Granada weather.
Joe, thank you. Before we go to the biggest tourist attraction in Morecambe, apparently.
Yeah, according to the boxer Tyson Fury, it is the boxer Tyson Fury. I love that. He's been chatting ahead of a new Netflix documentary, At Home with the Furies, which is released next week.
I love Morecambe Bay. It's such a little town, seaside town, and nothing there. You couldn't spend your money if you wanted to. And, you know, the dearest thing's probably an ice cream, £2, which is cheap comparison to London or anywhere else, isn't it? And we can live sort of a normal, quiet life there.
I think that's what's important to us, though, isn't it?
Other
With
than
the
weekends
kids.
and bank holidays in the summer, because people travel there, tourists, and I'm the most famous attraction in Morecambe.
So they drive past our house like it's Beverly Hills
and then just
tall.
call in for a cup of tea, you know what I mean? Yeah, just drive on and knock on the door and see if he's in for a brew. And
Which we don't really appreciate, by the way. Let's just throw that out there.
I bet they don't. And you can find out more of that rather modest and humble interview online at itv.com/Granada.
Yeah, never a dull moment with Tyson Fury around.
No.
Have you got any experience with making miniature models?
Oh, no, I'm not at all crafty. I think it took me 2 years at school to make a tea cosies. That was knitting, though. I don't think that counts. What about you?
Terrible. I used to do craft design technology, and I remember making a sailing boat, and it was awful. It's just a block of wood with a hole in it and a mast.
That sounds quite impressive to me. That's it. Good night.
Bye.
Block of wood and a mast.